Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Good
Dr. Praveen.
morning.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Dr.
Good
Dubey.
morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Agarwal, sir. Good morning, Das, sir. Good morning, madam.
Good morning, Praveen ji.
Morning,
Happy
all.
Earth Day to all.
Thank you.
सर हमने 2012 में याद है सर हमने देहरादून में क्लीनिंग भी कराया था
हाँ वो तो
गांधी गांधी में आनंद शर्मा जी वगैरह सब लोग थे
हाँ हाँ राइट 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 बल्कि वो एनीवे वो प्रोफेसर दुबे हैज जॉइंड
Yes, sir. Professor Dubey has joined.
Yeah,
We'll start officially at 11:30. Just 1 minute more.
या नो इशू यू कैन
We will make it live at 11:30
या
to the YouTube participants.
सो प्रोफेसर दुबे जी नमस्कार
Yes, sir. Namaskar. Namaskar.
so yeah you can switch on your now we can see you as well as we can hear you
Yes, yes.
good
So, like all of a sudden, my desktop got shut down. So I'm restarting it. I've just joined on the phone. So as soon as the desktop is up, I'll switch over to the desktop because that's where my presentation is. अभी वो
okay so
स्टार्ट हो रहा है हो जाएगा 1-2 मिनट में हो जाएगा
कोई बात नहीं आप
Yes,
जब
sir.
हो तब
No problem.
आप अपना सिग्नल दे दीजिए उसके बाद शुरू करेंगे
श्योर श्योर श्योर
In the meantime, we can do the introduction and other formalities.
श्योर या
Yeah, Professor Dubey, like you know that Indian Society of Remote Sensing, of course, I will speak, but here people who are sitting. So I am the president of the society, and Dr. IC Das. Uh, IC Das, you can wave your hand so that Professor Dubey, he is the vice president.
yeah, yeah.
And you know, Dr. Praveen Thakur is the secretary, and Dr. Poonam Tiwari is the treasurer. And we have with us, और इधर आ जाओ थोड़ा सा. Dr. S.S. Kundu, he is the joint secretary. So,
I am not seeing your photo. I mean, your video is not on.
सर आ रहा है हमारे को तो आपका थोड़ा मोबाइल कनेक्शन में प्रॉब्लम होगा हमें तो दिखाई दे रहा है
अच्छा हमारा
हमको सबका दिखाई दे रहा है.
अरे
या आई कैन आल्सो सी मुझे भी सब दिखाई दे
Yeah.
रहे हैं
Okay, so now we are I think live, so we can start now.
Yeah, but just wait. Let him restart his PC.
या जस्ट स्टार्ट हो गया बस आई एम ओपनिंग माय फाइल
वो कमल जैन साहब नहीं है ज्वाइन नहीं हुआ
Priyanka, we are live now.
Yeah, we can see you are live.
Okay,
YouTube में आ रहा है.
okay. Should we start, sir?
Yeah, you can start the introduction part, and I think by the time my file should open, it's almost there.
Okay, sir.
अभी आप
So
जल्दी चाहिए होता है तो उस समय डिले होते हैं ठीक है ओके बट इट्स देयर या
okay.
प्लीज गो
So, welcome all the esteemed members of Indian Society of Remote Sensing. Today, we all are gathered here for celebration of Earth Day 2024, and this year's theme is plastic versus planet. So, this today we are joined with our honored president of our society, Dr. S.P. Agarwal, and the first vice president, Dr. I.C. Das, and our esteemed speaker for the day, Professor Brijesh Dubey from IIT Kharagpur. And we are also joined with the Treasurer, Dr. Poonam Madam, and Joint Secretary, Dr. Kundu from ANISAC. So once again, I welcome you all for this Earth Day celebration of Indian Society of Remote Sensing. So I will just give you the brief about the Earth Day, how it started almost 55 years ago, and this was first held in 1970 after the UNESCO's conference in San Francisco on by the initiative of peace activist John McNeil. So he proposed this day on 21st of March 1970 as the first spring day in the northern hemisphere. And later they have proclaimed McDowell and Secretary General that the United Nations should also celebrate this. And then later in 1972, it was adopted by United Nations to be celebrated as a Earth Day globally. And this has a history why it was 1969 1970, because there was a big sea spill, oil spill in the ocean near the San Francisco. And to make the awareness about the earth and the planet earth, from 1970 onwards we are celebrating this day. And each year we have the specific theme for celebration of the earth day. And our earth observations, which includes the satellites from ISRO and many space agencies, plays a very important role since the 1970s, that is 1972 Landsat. So we provide a very long and continuous time series of all the variables which looks for not just land, water, but also the pollution. So with this, I complete my introduction, and I request Dr. S.P. Agarwal sir to give a brief welcome all the members as well as esteemed guests, and also give a brief about the Indian Society of Remote Sensing. Sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Praveen, and very good morning to each and everyone present here. Respected our guest, Professor Birjesh Kumar Duveji, is a professor at IIT Kharagpur. Thank you very much for joining us on this very important day, that is Earth Day of 2024, which Indian Society of Remote Sensing is celebrating. Thank you for joining and also delivering a very important talk on plastic pollution, assessment of environmental impact and control mechanism. I know you have done a lot of work in this field, so you are the right person to deliver a talk on this occasion. I also welcome all our distinguished Indian Society of Remote Sensing member, which are more than 6,000. It's a huge number. And as all of you are aware that Indian Society of Remote Sensing, it has already celebrated its what you call 50 years, and now we are heading towards the platinum jubilee. So we are very much old society, and our main objective is basically to advancement and dissemination of the remote sensing application in various aspects of the what you call our life, which includes which is very important: natural resource management, disaster risk reduction, infrastructure planning, geoinformatics, etc. So you can see the importance of Indian Society of Remote Sensing in day-to-day life. Whenever we are talking about that, how much forest deforestation is taking place, government is taking help of the our remote sensing data. Whenever we are talking about the way, what is the location of the flood, what is the what you call spatial extent of the flood, then remote sensing provide the information. Whenever we are looking for the damage assessment due to the landslide and earthquake, then remote sensing provide the information. Whenever we are planning for the new road for the unreached area, then remote sensing provide a very important role. Hence, the role of Indian Society of Remote Sensing become very important. And this is a reason why we are organizing different days, celebrating different days. One of it is Earth Day. Also, we are organizing celebrating Environment Day. We are also celebrating the Remote Sensing Day. We are celebrating the Science Day, like that. If you look at the Earth Day, probably you know that, but nevertheless, to maintain the continuity, I would like to say it started with the environment of the earth, how to improve the environment of the earth, how to maintain the environment of the earth, and in a sustained manner. And for that, remote sensing plays a major role. Hence, ISRS, which is the house of very esteemed, learned members all across the country. In fact, we have 28 chapters, and each chapters on different big cities, and they are organizing different events, and they are in touch with not only with the professionals, but they are in touch with student of school going, students of university going, So you know that our what you call uh, spreading of the knowledge through the chapters is very, very important. And hence, these chapters are really helping the people, telling them what is the role of remote sensing for the benefit of the society. In another, there is another very important aspect of Indian Society of Remote Sensing. We have Journal of Indian Society of Remote Sensing, which is a monthly journal. It is a very famous journal. Now it become an international journal, and its impact factor is current impact factor is 2.5 based on the Clarivate Analytics, as well as 2.67 based on the Science Scopus. So you can imagine the importance of this journal, which is very, very important, one of the highest rated journal in the country. Another important thing about the outreach of ISRS through international bodies. So we are the member of Indian International Society of Photogrammetry of Remote Sensing, as well as the Asian Association on Remote Sensing. So ISRS role is not within the country, but outside of country also. We are telling the people that yes, with the help of this professional society and scientific society, how we can help the people and how we can benefit the society. So this is a basic mandate of our Indian Society of Remote Sensing, and I'm happy that our Executive Council has decided that we should celebrate this very important day of Earth Day. And this year theme is basically plastic and planet. So we thought that who is the right person to be invited for the talk. And then after seeing many big, people biodata, we found Professor Brijesh Kumar Dubey is the right person for this. And I'm really thankful he accepted our invitation. So thank you, Professor Dubey. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Poonam.
Respected our invited guest, Dr. Brajesh Kumar Dubey ji, ISRS President, Dr. SP Agarwal sir, Dr. IC.
After the Second World War, we saw a great increase in industrial productivity. We call it a industrialization event. And part of the industrialization, we produced variety of chemicals. We made variety of products. And one of that product is plastics. And plastics as a product, plastics as a material actually has done a lot of good things for us too. In fact, the computer that I'm using to talk to you right now, or even the headphone that I'm having on head, they're all plastics. The medium at which you are watching me and you are listening to me, they're also mostly made out of plastics. Unfortunately, if you have to, God forbid, you don't have to visit the hospital, but if you go to hospital, you go to see somebody in the hospital, even in ICU or any ward, many things made out of plastic. From early morning to late evening, again, we are using lots of plastics. But there are these plastics at different types of plastics. And that's identified using this resin identification code. So we have number 1 to number 7. If you take any plastic product, they ranges from number 1 to number 7. Number 1 is PET, number 2 is HDPE, 3 is PPC, 4 is LDPE, PP, PBS, and others like stuff. And at the bottom, you can see all the different products that are made out of these particular different types of polymer. We said different types of resins or different types of polymer types. So a variety of products are made. And the thing is that the plastic is so easy to make. To make products out of plastic is relatively so easy. You can give it different shapes and sizes, and you can mold. You can give it different colors. So that's why it is so popular. In fact, when we had this plastics coming in for the first time, if you those of us who are older enough, we have seen, let's save the forest. Let's save the forest was the kind of the tagline. Because paper, which plastic was essentially replacing when plastic came for the first time. So paper used is we have to cut down the trees and use lots of so it says that let's save our forest and move to plastic. But what happened was, unfortunately, we haven't used our plastic properly. We are using too much of plastics. In fact, if you look at after concrete, as a humankind, after concrete, if we have made the second biggest product, second biggest material that we are consuming on this particular planet today is plastics. So lots of plastics. And if you look at the plastics, it's used in variety of, so like packaging. Packaging is number one sources of plastic. Building and construction, as you can see on the pie charts on the right hand side, building and construction, agricultural, automotive, electrical, electronics, household, miscellaneous. So packaging, a lot of plastics is being used. Among the packaging, LDPE. LDPE is your nearly 67%. And those thin plastic bags, the plastic bags which you get when you go to the grocery shops, when you go to buy potato or buy onions or tomatoes and all those things, and they give you in a plastic bag, the thin, clear plastic bags, see-through plastic bags, they are mostly made out of LDPE. And that is creating a lots of nuisance. Right now, out of these plastics, as you can see, only 12%, only 12% gets recycled. 20% goes to the incineration plant, and 68% is just making way to the landfill. And in India, it is mostly dump sites. So a lot of it's putting in dump sites. From dump sites, it goes to our river. It goes to this, or if you don't collect it properly, what happens? It goes to the stormwater drain. The stormwater drain, anytime it rains, your city is flooded with water because the stormwater drain is choked with plastics. And from a stormwater drain, it will go to a nala. From nala, it will go to a river. And from river, it will ultimately end up in the ocean. So packaging accounts for biggest share in total plastic consumption. As you can see, flexible packaging, rigid packaging. So those two together is more than 50% in terms of packaging stuff. So that's where, and we use lots of single-use plastics there. So that's one area where we need to actually focus on reducing the usage of plastic. And plastic use, as you can see on this graph over here on the left-hand side, from 1980 to 2060, across the world, we will see more and more usage of plastics. That's what it is projected, and that's what we are seeing as well. Although we are trying to curb down the use of single-use plastics, but still we are seeing lots of plastics being used, and all across the country. You can see different countries listed there. Same thing in terms of plastic waste as well. By 2060, again, we will see a lot of plastic waste coming up there. And so there is a huge demand for understanding of these plastic waste issues, trying to understand the pollution, and also try to see how to mitigate the pollution. So in terms of plastic waste generation, if you can look at, globally, it's 353 million metric tons. So that much of million tons of global plastic waste generation. And out of that, nearly 50% is just being dumped in landfills. 22% is totally mismanaged. It is being not collected at all. Recently, I was traveling by train from like Visakhapatnam to Kharagpur. And by the time the train reached Bhubaneswar, it was morning. So I was just watching outside through my window from Bhubaneswar to Kharagpur, which is around 6 hours of train ride. I could not find a stretch of more than 5 minutes of travel where I did not see plastic pieces littered along the railway track. So much of plastic is being littered. So where this plastic will go? Ultimately, it will go to our rivers and oceans, and then it will become part of the fish and all that. Or even it may become part of milk too. I'll show you later on. So in terms of plastic waste generation, globally 353 million metric ton. In India, almost 10% of that. In India, we have 3.5 million metric ton. Out of that, Indian plastic waste generation, 47% is mismanaged. 47% of mismanaged as per the CPCB 2020 report. 36% is going to the landfill. From landfill also, it is getting it gets blown away. And if you look at the gram per years in terms of the per capita generation of plastic waste throughout the country, Delhi, of course, tops it. It again depends on per capita income in that particular area too. And as you go from Delhi all the way to Tripura, you can see the reduction in plastic waste. And for some states, we don't have proper data availability as well. So in terms of if you look at the picture, global picture, humans have created 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic today, outgrowing all man-made material other than steel and cement, as I was telling you earlier. So if you look at 8.3 billion metric ton, that much of plastic we have created so far, that is almost like 800,000 times of Eiffel Tower. 25,000 say Empire State Building, which is in New York. 80 million times blue whale, or 1 billion times our elephant. One elephant is 7.5 metric tons. And so with this, because of the production is supposed to, and we'll see that production actually will increase. From 1950, it was 2 million metric ton. By 2050, that will become 34 billion projected metric ton. That will be the plastic production estimates. And if you look at the west side, we are looking at by 2050, there will be 12 billion metric tons. 2050 is only what now, 25, 20, 26 years from now. So most of the younger population will still be working at that time, and they will have to deal with so much of plastic waste getting into our environmental system. Especially the single-use plastic, which is like 40%. 40% of the plastic produced is packaging, just used once and then discarded. So that becomes a big problem. So why do we actually, I'm saying it will become a big problem. So why it is a big problem? Because if you look at the plastic products, plastic straw, as simple as a straw, takes 200 years to degrade in the environment. Coffee cup, 30 years. Plastic bags, 20 years. Bottles, 450 years. Coffee pots, 500 years. Disposable diapers, also 500 years. Plastic toothbrush, 500 years. So we complain that plastics do not degrade, plastic stays in the environment for a long period of time. Actually, plastic was designed to not degrade. See, the beauty of plastic is that once you make a plastic product, it should last forever. So where is the problem? The problem is that we are making too much of single-use plastic products. We are discarding too much of plastics. We are just using it because it's so cheap, convenient to make. So we are actually misusing plastics. Plastic as a material actually has, as I said earlier also, is actually done good for us. Even if you look at the cars, today cars have become lighter. Your vehicle has become lighter. Lighter means better mileage. Better mileage means less petrol diesel. Less petrol diesel means better for environment. But we have started using plastic wherever we could. And we became lazy. We don't want to carry our bags, like jute bags or nose bags from groceries and all. Plastic is so convenient, and all those packaging stuff. Some packaging is also like some of the food products if you look at. For example, salt, sugar and all. Few months from now, we are hopefully we'll see some rain coming up. But during the monsoon season, when we have a good rain in this part of the country at least, we see that the sugar and salt becomes very soggy. Isn't it? That's what some of us who were at a very young age, we have bought those stuff from the Kirana stores. But now it comes with a nice plastic package, so it stays fresh for a longer period of time. So it also helped us in extending the lifespan of the shelf life of certain food products. So plastic has done good things too. But while we were developing these plastic products, we actually never paid attention to have a proper plastic waste management infrastructure. And that's where it created the whole problem. And unfortunately, even today, we don't have a proper plastic waste management infrastructure. So what happens? All the plastic that is dumped everywhere, from the beach littering, from the ocean fishing, ports and harbors, shippings, inland activity, agricultural activity, wastewater plants, city landfills, dump sites, fishing activities in different places, they become all sources of plastic into our environment. And they get the pathways. So what are the pathways? Stormwater runoff, wastewater discharge, wind and ocean currents, streams and rivers, direct littering. And then what will happen? It will go into the water bodies. It will cause entanglement for our different species. It will break down into microplastics, which is a bigger problem. There is an ingestion, like you will have our fish and aquatic animals, they're eating these plastics. Even land animals are eating these plastics. Impact in coral reefs, soil getting contaminated, freshwater floating plastic, buried landfill, buried in beach soil. So we are seeing plastic pretty much everywhere, unfortunately, because of the litter. As you can see in this diagram too. So where does this end up? It ends up in the ocean. You may be already knowing all that because of the surface current in the ocean. Plastic garbage patches are now there at the subtropical gears. Pretty much throughout the world, all the oceans has this plastic still is there. As you can see on this, I hope that there is a small this particular slide has a small animation on the left hand side, and I hope that it is working on your computer as well, because this is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. You can see the amount of plastic that is there in the ocean. This is not too far. But this picture has not been taken too far from the Hawaii Islands. So if you go to Hawaii Islands, you don't want to see all this kind of stuff. This is having a lot of negative impact on our tourism industry as well. And so we are seeing a good amount of mismanaged plastics waste, which is showing up from pretty much everywhere in the world, and that's where we need to tackle. We need to make sure that the plastic is not mismanaged. That's where the focus needs to be. Of course, we have banned certain types of plastics, which is okay, but still we have to kind of work on trying to solve the problems. Banning the plastic is only solving part of the problem. It is not solving the total problem out there. Let's see what happens here. It's taking a while to go to the next slide. Just think it will work now. Yeah. So problem with plastic waste mismanagement, I call it plastic waste mismanagement. It's creating marine pollution, as we talked about. It is also creating your, in terms of, you can see it is choking the drain. Uncontrolled burning is creating our hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, styrene, dioxins, all those things are going into the atmosphere. Waste dumps and littering, creating soil pollution. Animals are consuming it. There are leaching of chemicals. Clogging of sewers are also happening, which we talked about. So since we are mismanaging this plastic, it's creating a lot of issues in terms of our different environmental systems. And it also, what happens is, because of getting into this environmental system, exposure to UV rays, wear and tear, like your interaction with sand particles in the ocean currents, this bigger pieces of plastics gets broken down to what is known as the microplastics. It's a tiny plastics, bigger problem. Microplastics is something between 5 mm to 0.1 micrometers, and nanoplastic is anything which is less than 0.1 micrometers. And macroplastic is something more than 5 mm. So between 5 mm and 0.1 micrometer is the macroplastics, which you do hear these days a lot, showing up in salt, showing up in water, showing up in breast milk, showing up in placenta, and also in many other systems too. So this microplastics, they interact with the tentacles, so they increase mucus production, they get ingested into the body, and they create, and while they're moving inside the body, they also create some other contaminant, like a potential harmful chemicals with it as well. So in terms of, if you want to summarize so far, and before we go to the next part, if you summarize so far, we are producing too much of plastics, we are consuming too much of plastics, and our waste management system is not able to handle the plastics that we are producing. So in fact, very recently, there is a new term came, Plastic Overshoot Day. We will talk about towards the end. I'll just show you. The report just came last week. And then we have to meet, nowadays there is a lot of here in terms of, we are trying to meet certain targets in terms of having proper plastic waste management. So, and to have a proper plastic waste management, first of all, you need to understand what is the extent of the problem. So that's what we have been trying to do so far. And then we will start talking about how to handle the problem. So how to better manage in terms of recycling, what we can do. I think you must be seeing my recycling slide right now, plastic waste management recycling, where talks about collection of plastics. So we have to do, as the waste management rules suggest, at least wet and dry segregation. See, our rule says that do wet and dry segregation. Some of the places in the country are able to do wet and dry segregation, but many cities and towns are still struggling for doing wet and dry. Why wet and dry is important? Unless you have the plastics in the dry form, if it gets mixed with food waste and others, you have to clean that plastic. You will increase the water footprint of the process because you will be using lots of water, and then you have to deal with that wastewater. isn't it? That's a deal with that wastewater as well. So try to keep the plastics clean and dry. And then it can go and you can sort it out for different types of plastic. You can make granules out of that. You can wash it, and and then you dry it. After drain, you extrude it, and then you cut it into beads, and the beads can go back to make newer product. So that's being done pretty much for most of these plastics which are listed here, like PET, HDPE, it can be recycled. Globally, 18% of plastic is recycled as of today, which is zero in 1980s. In India, we have around 13-14% of the plastic is being recycled. But its plastic bottles is one of the mostly recycled products. You will never see Bisleri, Aquafina, those bottles kind of littered around. What you mostly see is that film plastic, which is that low density polyethylene, LDPE, which still can be recycled, but it doesn't give that much value for money. So PET, HDPE, easy to recycle. LDPE, PP can be manageable. Polystyrene, difficult, but very difficult is PVC and the other types. So that's what you see the challenges in terms of the recycling of plastics. So recycling of various types, PET, of course, 55% of the PET is recycled. HDPE, 33% of the HDPE is recycled. Others, you can see that it's very less. So that's where we need to focus on what to do with the other category. So there is a process where you can use this, you can take this waste plastics and convert that to fuel. Using this pyrolysis and those kind of process, you can take this waste plastics, which is not being recycled, and we can produce fuel out of that. And we can use that fuel for our replacing the other fuel types, and this could be used. But again, here also, you need that plastic to be clean. If you have too much of dirt there, if you have food waste and other things mixed, this technology is not going to work. Then what you can do, you can also do waste to energy with these plastics too. For non-recyclable plastics, because this plastics is what is derived from fossil fuel. So it does have good calorific value. So we can put it in waste to energy plant. But we need to make sure that the temperature of the waste to energy plant should be above 1100 degrees centigrade. Because if you burn plastic at the lower temperature, it creates dioxins, furans, and other stuff. So if you see somebody burning plastics and other waste in your neighborhood, that should be totally no-no. Today, whatever pile they make of garbage, there will be some plastic pieces. So you don't want to inhale anything which has burned plastic, those emissions, because the chances of having dioxins and furans are very high, and that causes carcinogen. It's a carcinogen. So what you need to do is you need to do a controlled burning of this waste, and that should happen in an industrially designed waste to energy plant at a temperature of 1100 degrees centigrade and above to control all these air pollution control systems. So then there are different mechanical recycling is there, feedstock recycling is there, energy recovery, and then landfilling. I'm not going to read all that. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of all the different processes. See, whenever there is a process out there, we know as a scientist and engineers, we know that you have to, there will be always pros and cons of any technology, and you need to choose the one which kind of works better based on all the constraint that we have. But currently what we have is no organized system has been developed by municipal authority for collection, segregation, and transportation and disposal of plastic waste. We are seeing open burning of plastic waste. We are seeing unregulated collection practice, garbage mixed with plastic waste. There is sound recycling wherever the recycling is happening. That's also they are not using proper environmental control there. So those issues are there. So we need to have a better strategy. And the strategy is well known: reduce, reuse, recycle. Try to reduce the plastic. Try to use your own bags as much as possible. And then reuse the plastics as much as possible. If not reduce, reuse, then try to recycle. And this has been talked about for many, many years throughout the world. This 3R, 4R, and 5R principle. So what are the action you can take as a local community or as a city or as an individual? We can promote the reusable bags, introduction of local collection bins for just the plastic waste in the markets, one marketplace where no plastic zone in each municipality, proper guideline to use appropriate bin for disposal of plastic items. See, there are guidelines are also there. Even see, and then our action is also needs to be there. I'll give you an example. You go to any airport today. You go to Bangalore airport, such a nice trash can as you go up while you are going for domestic departure. Before the your security, you see the nice. It's other locations too, but as you go up the elevator, you see there is a nice trash can, which has all the different labels: plastic different, paper different, and then food waste different, other recyclables different. But if you take a picture from the top, unfortunately, all the four bins are mixed up. So airports mostly are most of the people in the airports have some level of education, but there also we don't see source segregation happening. So unless there is a source segregation, what the Bangalore Airport Authority can do, they cannot do anything with that waste if it's all mixed up. So they will just put it in a dump site or in a landfill. So we have to do our part as well. So, and then there has to be a support system, like having at least, as I said, proper guideline for use for appropriate bin, having the bin available as well. So it says, and then having segregating waste into different stuff, dry plastic, dry paper, e-waste. As the rule suggests, at least just do the dry waste and wet waste, because if the paper, plastic, all these things are mixed together, it can be segregated up. Municipalities should be encouraged to provide at least 2 bins. For larger complex, we can have a building bylaws to include separate bin facility. Where you have an accessible problem, we can have collection, some sort of collection happening in a more quick interval. So that is also possible. Then we need to do a lot of capacity building. One thing while working in this area, which I have realized, is that many people who are working in the waste management sector, they don't have the know-how of how to better manage this plastic waste. Many times what happens is that because of that, some of these vendors will come and they sell some technologies which we know is not going to work in the Indian context, unfortunately, but they have to do something. There is always some pressure कि कुछ करना है, कुछ दिखाना है. So, and then they ended up buying technologies or using the technologies which does not really work. The reason for that is they don't have the basic know-how. So a lot of capacity building, the events that we are doing today, that kind of event needs a lot of work is needed, but people should understand what is the problem, how to really tackle this problem. I'm not blaming those officials there because they were never really exposed to this kind of problem. Plastic waste is a very newer area. There is no course taught in at a school, at a university levels on plastic waste right now. We do have a course on NPTEL Swayam platform, an online platform. Probably some of you may have seen that too, and where we talk about these issues in great detail. It's a like a semester-long course. But we need to have an organized street tour, a study tour of plastic waste recycling plant, development of appropriate posters for permanent location, data is again data collection, develop appropriate technologies for collection, sorting, transportation, recycling plastics. So a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities are available in this particular sector. Some innovative approach that has been taken, this was introduced by UNDP, where they say plastic lao thaila pao. You bring 10 PET bottles, you get 1 thaila. 20 pieces of MLP, you get 1 thaila. So based on different 10 mixed plastic products, again you get 1 thaila. So you bring the plastics, encouraging people to bring these plastic bags and take a reusable bags, and then you use that on a day-to-day basis. So that is also, and then this plastic gets recycled. Some initiative in different cities in terms of improving the segregation of the household waste, putting the right bin. So there are things being done as part of the Swachh Bharat mission and other issues. In Operation Blue Mountain, this is Supriya Shahu says in Nilgiri district of Tamil Nadu, banned the use of plastics in the district and makes it plastic-free zones. So because plastic was choking animals and plastic was clogging the drains. So there has been initiative, but we need to kind of take it to a much bigger level. There is also an approach to plastic to toilet. So you take the plastics and then make a construction product out of that, and which does not need concrete, water, cement, and sand. It used a binder with the stone aggregates. So plastic is used as a binder because when you melt the plastic, it acts as a binder. So you can use plastic as a binder with the stone aggregates and make this toilets. So that's also it's a low cost can be used, and it also helps us reduce the usage of bricks and cement blocks. So those things are quite possible. So there are a lot of practices are out there. There is as I told you, like plastic can be converted to oil, can be used even in road making, can be used in cement plants, can be used for gasification and all that to produce different value-added products. So variety of things can be done for each of these technologies. There are advantages and disadvantages, and we can discuss that if you have question on that. And government also is promoting use of plastic waste in road construction in India, and it's a rule is already our National Highway Authority has already come up with this guideline. But again, most of these contractors are not able to find clean plastic waste. For this also, you need clean plastic waste, isn't it? So as a civil engineer, I will not allow to use any dirty plastic waste for my road, because what this plastic will do is basically they will partially replace bitumen. So bitumen, I want a certain grade of bitumen. So how can I use a dirty plastic for my road? So it has to be clean plastic. So for clean plastic, again, source segregation is important. So one thing which I will keep on emphasizing again and again is source segregation is very, very important in terms of our in terms of having any effective waste management solution. So there are some of the newer technologies are also there: microwave assisted pyrolysis, supercritical water liquefaction, plasma gasification. But many of these technologies are there in the lab scale, maybe in the pilot scale. But to take it to the commercial scale, we have to look at the economy of scale. We have to look at the economic viability. Something like plasma arc or supercritical water is too much of energy intensive process. They're too costly and may not really work on a larger scale. ULB plant may work for a very specified kind of scenario with some hazardous waste with lots of plastics maybe, but not in general for municipal solid waste. So there is also a work on, we hear about hydrogen these days. People are also working on hydrogen gas recovery from plastic waste gasification. So they are using pre-treating the plastic waste, and some sort of cleaning and crushing is required. Then you gasify, then you get the product and you try to separate different fractions and then finally produce hydrogen, and which could be used stuff. There is a push to move from open like a linear economy to circular economy, and we call it plastic circular economy as well. So for plastic, we are thinking about what should be the circular economy approach for plastic. So right now, like just take the material, use it and throw it away as a waste. Circular economy says close the loop. Don't create the waste. So you collect all the plastic waste and try to upcycle it to make different products. And there are, you may have heard about, there is a company called, I think I'm forgetting the name, but they make shoes out of plastic, thin plastic bags. And then they're selling the shoes for around 5,000 rupees. It's available in India. You can order it and you can get it as well. So circular economy, what it says, from the we went to more value-based economy and try to, nothing is wasted. That's the whole concept here, is you should not produce any waste and try to use the waste in an energy source. So primary goal for circular economy is to keep the product, components, material at use. So you keep on using whatever the product you make, use it. As at the end of life, recover the material, bring it back into the economy and try to use it again. That's why you see all those circles over there. So there are, again, for plastic as well, and for any product, there are 9 R strategies in terms of you start from refuse, don't make waste at the first time, you rethink how you made the product design. For example, I will give you that some of the newer drink bottles are having label which is wrapped around the entire bottle. So if this is my bottle, the label is wrapped around the entire bottle, and that creates a problem because that label is film plastic and the bottle is PET. Now I have to take that label off. I have to take that label off to use that plastic bottle. So that becomes a problem. So because I don't have, we have to set up a separate unit just to take that label off. So those that's not a good design. So you should rethink the design. We should design the product in such a way so that it's easy to recycle. Reduce the amount of material that is being used, reuse the product, repair the product, refurbish the product, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and then if you cannot recycle, do some energy recovery or other recovery as we we are discussing here. So that's the strategy. So try to have as little waste as possible. So that's what. So in terms of pollution from pallets in plastic industry, let's reduce the consumption of plastics. Low levels of waste, water legally disposed of but not being treated. Waste legally disposed of but leakages from landfills are going there. Not enough waste manufacturing. We are not doing waste recycling and resource recovery. Illegal disposal of plastics. More than 20% of the plastics is inadequately managed. So there needs a lot of policy interventions there, as you can see at the bottom. A lot of policy interventions are required to make really move towards the circular economy concept, and a change in thinking process too. We all have to come and sit down on the table. That's one of the biggest problems we have, not only in India, throughout the world, maybe a little bit more in India, that we don't really sit down and talk. For example, right now, we have fire. Yesterday, you may have heard that in Delhi, there is a landfill, the dump site is on fire. Now, there is only blame game is going on, like whom to blame. But what is the solution? Rather than doing the blame game, all the people who are playing the blame game right now, they should sit down and try to come up with, okay, what is the solution? Because that's a yearly event. Every year it happens. And again, the same blame game happens from different corners, different stakeholders. They just blame each other and then nothing gets done. So with that approach, forget about it. We will not be able to solve this plastic pollution problem. Or even we will never have this circular economy approach. To solve the problem, we need to sit down on a table, keep our ego aside, and then let's come up with what will really work economically, technology-wise, as well as from an operational-wise, with manpower and other requirements too. So there are a lot of problem-based selection tools are also there. You need to look at the price-based instruments, you need to look at the rights-based instruments, you have to look at the regulatory instruments, and also behavioral issues in the waste management industry as well. So look at all the different things, have a systems approach, have a thinking about that, then come up with a solution. So that's what is needed in terms of this plastic pollution to really solve the problem. There has been a lot of initiative since, as you can see, from 1972. We heard that this Earth Day started in 1970. 1972, even before I was born, we had this London Convention where people started upon global plastic waste action. And then you can see, left several initiatives. I'm not going to read all these initiatives. You are maybe aware of that already. So until 2020, European Plastic Pact. And right now, 2024, if you remember, if you have followed the news, that in Ottawa, Canada, the global organizations, global country representatives are there working on plastic treaty, global plastic treaty. And let's see what, and then I have a couple of slides on that towards the end, just very quickly to give you a summary of that. In India, we have banned certain form of plastics and carry bags and other stuff, but unfortunately, still for many of these plastics, we still see them in the market, although we have banned them, but it is still available in the market. But thing is that why it is available, we need to think about that why it is still available. Banning something is the easiest thing to do. See, banning something is the easiest thing to do, but you need to come up with the alternative to those products. People are used to using those kind of products, so you need to provide alternative. See, we have banned Dory long back, but unfortunately it is still there. It is coming down, but it's still there. So same thing, like just banning doesn't work. You have to come up with a solution for what will be there in the market. It is in the place of the banned products in the similar price range as well, and a similar convenience too. So very difficult. So a lot of research is needed, a lot of R&D investment is needed to come up with the alternatives to plastics. So that's where our DST, DBT and all those things had to put a lot of money in terms of how to develop products in alternative products to plastics. Just banning is not going to work. It's made, we will start, it only creates more problem. But yes, I would definitely say that we should try to phase down the usage of the single-use plastic. So ban has been done in certain products, but not to be phased out also for certain products based on hygiene, product safety, and social impact, economic impact. Certain banning has not been done. Some products have been banned, some products have not been banned. Very quickly now, I'll show you some of the work that we have done, and maybe next 10 minutes we'll will be done for that. And then we can open it up for question and answer. So this plastic C2 source, as you can see, planet or versus plastic, along the same theme, National Geographic television channel, those who won the television channel as well. So National Geographic, they had funded this project to us, where we were looking at how much plastic is getting mismanaged along the river Ganges because of not having proper infrastructure of plastic waste management in the urban areas and also in the rural areas. So here we looked at, this was our land team, people from India, people from like US, and also we had people from Europe, especially UK, and then we had some our friends from Bangladesh also part of the team. This is just showing the land team, mostly people from India and US here. So we looked at plastics, like we looked at where the plastics are ending up. So junk shop surveys, looking at where the plastic, how it is plastic being managed, what are the technologies that are being used. So this was a quite exhaustive exercise, went for more than a year and a half at different places, starting from all around the river Ganges. And we also did what is known as the transect. Transect is, I will tell you, I think in the next picture might be there. This is transect locations in different cities. I will show you a, yeah, this is your, so this is, as you can on the left hand side, you can see a square frame. That's like 1 meter by 1 meter is square frame. So, and on the right hand side, you can see like a, we are, as we are walking around the road, we are taking like a, that's the, it kind of gives us the, how much we have traveled. So every 100 meters, along the river bank, along the roads and all, we have tried to see how much littering is there. How much littering is there, and among the littering, how much is the, what is the litter density, and what kind of material is there in the litter, because these are the material which will end up in the river very quickly. This is next time it rains, it will go into the river. So those material we looked at, and we saw that there are 12 out of 56,000 items that we have looked at. 12,782 were there is the plastic food wrappers, and then we also had tobacco sachets, and then sheet-like plastic fragments, papers, and cigarettes. And as we moved from Haridwar, Rishikesh to Bay of Bengal, as we were coming closer to Bengal, we saw more cigarettes. As we were in UP and Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, we saw a lot of Manish and Gutka kind of stuff, and plastic food wrappers were all around. So, and as you can see on the right hand side, that diagram which with the yellow bars, they are giving you the litter density per square meter. So in per square meter, how much was the littered pieces? Starting from Harsil, we could not go all the way to Gomukh. Starting from Harsil all the way to Charfasan, which is below Chandpur, which is in Bangladesh, where river like our major Padma meets the Bay of Bengal. So we kind of covered Harsil, Rishikesh, Anupshahar, Kannauj, Varanasi, Patna, Sahibganj, Rajbari, Chandpur, and Charfasan. And those areas, as you can see, we had litter density kind of varying a lot. Highest and lowest both was actually in Bangladesh. So we collected this data in terms of how much is there, and we shared this with the ULB partners. We met all these urban local bodies, shared this information with them, showed them that what are the different things are there. And as you can see for the Sahibganj, all these different types of material we showed up, mostly plastic food wrappers, tobacco sachets, seat-like used plastics, and a lot of other materials which was there as well. So, and the reason we were trying to stress upon the ULB is that you need to manage this waste properly. You do something about it, otherwise they do end up in the river and then finally into the ocean. And you saw the pictures of what is happening to ocean. We saw the drains falling into the river, which carried a lot of plastics as well. And this is just before COVID. This study was done just before COVID. We kind of ran into COVID towards the end of the study, and we had to curtail some of the field work. So again, drains going into the river. We collected some samples from the river, from these drains as well. And it's not uncommon. Many of you just go out, you look at this as kind of find in many cities. Even today, it is being showing up, drains getting into the river. And then in some of the places, we also find that plastic was showing up in the cow dung, gobar. So plastics showing up in cow dung is a big problem, because if plastics are, we have seen some videos also where the cows were eating this plastic. If the cows are eating plastic, then the plastic chemicals could be there in the milk too. We haven't seen a study in India yet, where plastic chemicals, because it's very difficult to do the analysis of these plastic chemicals in the milk. But if it's there in the milk, it may end up in our Rasagulla and all those sweets. And see, milk we all consume. So I don't want to drink plastic chemicals with the milk or drink my Rasagulla and other sweets with that. So that's a huge issue. Some of us who may realize that that's only a waste management problem. It's not a waste management problem. Mismanagement of plastic is actually for our whole humanity. It's a big deal. We need to all work together and come up with a solution. So next time when you are in near a trash can, please put your waste in the proper bin. Put the plastic in the plastic bin, especially if the plastic bin is there. If not, put it in the dry bin. And I think wet and dry segregation kind of system at least is there in most of the cities now as part of the Swachh Bharat mission. It is there, but not being implemented properly. You should talk to your local authorities to have it implemented properly as well. So very recently, there is a concept came of Plastic Overshoot Day, which was they were looking at in terms of, this is basically to raise awareness but to need to reduce plastic consumption. It is essentially giving you that at what point we are producing plastic waste. Actually, we are producing plastic waste at a rate much faster than the earth can handle without causing long-term harm to ecosystem and human health. For India, globally, that Plastic Overshoot Day is September 5th. But for India, it is April 23rd, just tomorrow. Today is Earth Day. Tomorrow, after tomorrow, whatever plastic we'll be using this year is actually going to cause a lot of damage to this planet, to our area. Because that's what it says, how much plastic our land area can handle without causing long-term harm to ecosystem and human health. So we need to cut down the usage of plastic as much as possible. That is needed. Who contributes to plastic over? There are 117 days of meaning that 12.5 days. And if you look at the global contribution, that is we have globally in terms of the plastic management and all 248 days of proper plastic waste management, and rest will be all kind of the plastic that is used is not managed properly. So is it getting better or worse? It's actually a little closer to indicating that there is a slight improvement in global plastic waste management, as you can see. So there is a slight improvement, which is really good. But countries like in our countries like India, we need to make a lot of progress to have proper plastic waste management infrastructure. And that's the reason why, some of you may be aware, if you're not, if you go on YouTube and search my name with plastic waste, you will find an entire course playlist. And that's the reason why we developed that course and offered that course. And that course is being offered since, I think, 2017 or 16, every year on plastic waste management. And I'm going to revise that course this year so that it becomes more common, more relevant now, because a lot of things have changed. And then the UN Plastic Treaty, which I just mentioned to you a little while ago, its negotiations are still going on. You can go